On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk the smart home in 2020, Ring's new indoor drone, and garage transformations. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 243, Gimmicky Drones.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Vanco International. Learn the technology behind the award-winning EVOIP, AV over IP system.
and by
Peerless AV, driving technology through innovation.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott, for AVNation.tv. And this week, I'm pleased to be joined by three of my all-time favorite people. First, we have Mr. Jason Knott. He is the Chief Content Officer at CE Pro. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you for being here. Then we have one of my longest standing friends, Mr. Stephen Bronner. He is the owner of Pro Audio Georgia. How you doing, buddy?
And I am outstanding. It's a beautiful day, baby.
Just record that. I said you were one of my longest standing friends. It's an important.
Hey, I heard you admit that publicly, so that definitely went on the record.
They're going to edit it out. Don't even worry about it. And my other longest standing friend, which will also get edited out, is Mr. Tim Albright. He is the founder of AVNation and a proud Bears fan as they finally put a real QB in. How you doing, bud?
3-0, baby. 3-0. Just want to say it.
Well, it's very helpful when you get, an actual QB. It's great.
But we don't have one yet.
You got Mr. Foles.
Yeah.
Way better than Trubinsky. But this is not a sports podcast, as much as that would be kind of fun to do. Other than, Stephen would just talk SEC football the whole time.
Go
That's not what Hey, my son watched them and was like, Daddy, which team are we cheering for? And I didn't even say, he's like, we're cheering for the crocodile one. I'm like, it's a gator, but same thing. It's good. It's good, buddy.
Good enough. Good. We'll take it.
Close enough. He was very happy to see. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off with a story that comes to us from Residential Systems and our good friend, Mr. Mitchell Klein. He was on a couple of weeks ago with us. What does the smart home industry look like in 2020? These are some insights from Mitchell on the recently released Z-Wave State of the Ecosystem 2020 report. Back about a month ago, the Z-Wave Alliance had their national meeting, and obviously they talked about all kinds of things, and Mitch pulled out a bunch of key factors that he sees in the smart home environment in 2020. And I wanted to touch on a couple of them. And Jason, I wanted to start with you. One of the things that I found really interesting in this was the push for essentially more of these products to be all in one. Mitch was really excited about how the growth is going to be in kind of these all-in-one products, these products that can do more than one thing. They're not isolated devices. I read that and while I understand exactly where he's coming from, and it makes a lot of sense to me, my concern is that when I see those devices and I see how they play in our industry, it relegates us to more of a labor force opposed to a skilled labor force. Am I misreading this? Is there opportunity in this kind of all-in-one, smart home environment?
It probably is the way for the entry level. But I think the trend you've been seeing with a lot of the manufacturers, how they have diversified, now they're in lighting, they're in shade, they're in control, they're adding all these parts and pieces. So that still retains that custom element. This industry is called the Custom Electronics Design and Installation Association for a reason. And that's because integrators are tasked with finding the best product for their customer. In most cases, in a custom situation, it's going to be hard pressed for a single solution product to be the best solution for customers. So I think for integrators and their target audience, we've got to look at it as the rising tide raises all ships. It's just going to raise awareness at that entry level And then when the people really want to have products that are much more designed for single purpose tasks that can be compatible with other products, then they're going to go to a custom integrator.
Yeah, very good. Stephen, one of the next things that our friend Mitchell touches on is the need to shift, that the smart home value prop is going to have to change, is going to have to evolve. And as Jason alluded to, you're seeing a lot of integrators grow their business model. They're not just doing custom theaters anymore. They're not just doing home automation anymore. They're not just doing lighting. They're doing usually a handful of different things. I know for myself and our company, we've been almost exclusively IT in residential spaces in 2020. Do you see the need for most companies to shift to that multifaceted approach?
Nope. I see the need for most companies to have done that from the very beginning. If your company is structured around one idea, that's why you're always struggling for money. You have to diversify. You have to have multiple things that you do. If you don't offer your clients networking services, audio, video, lighting control, if you can't specify on more than one category, you're always going to struggle. So whenever the economy changes, or whenever a new Amazon device comes out, or a new Ring device, and everybody says, "Ooh, I want that." Well, if a new Ring device comes out and you don't know anything about doorbells, then you don't get to cash in on that. So the fact that we're still telling people you need to shift your business means that people don't understand. The whole idea is we are a custom installation industry, just like Jason said. Custom install means you need to be able to do it all. If a client calls you and says, "I want a media room," and you tell that client, "Well, that's great. I can do your audio and your video, but I need someone else to do lighting control, and I need someone else to program the remote." What are you? You're not the custom guy. You're a general contractor at that point. So my thing is I think what Mitchell says, it's true, but it's kind of sad because everyone should already understand that you can't just be one thing in our industry. And that is, a lot of times, that is what drives people out of our industry. Next thing is when a client calls you and says, "I want this retail product, I want this particular thing, and it's something I saw on the TV." You have to qualify that client. And if the client says, after you qualify them, if they are a Ring doorbell customer, then they need to have a Ring doorbell. And if that fits into your business model, great. If it doesn't, you should have the number of somebody. And this is what I do. My mentoring is known. People know I work with all kinds of integrators. You should have at least one or two phone numbers at all times of somebody in the industry that's just getting started, somebody who's worked in the industry for a while and just went out on their own, somebody that you can help, that you can call them and say, "Hey, you know what? Here's you a customer. They need a Ring doorbell. You need a customer. Go take care of that." Because the more of us that are more established and do better and have a more established customer base, help the people, once again, rising tide. If we help the people that are trying to come up, then they will make better decisions with their business as they go forward, and there's less likely to do garbage work.
Yeah, that's true. Tim, my biggest concern when I read these kind of reports, and when I listen to what Jason says and what Stephen says, is we've talked about this for years, especially in the commercial realm, but we have discussed it in residential, the erosion of the middle market.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot of stuff with those DIY, do it with me, do it for me, what have you, products. You can do a lot of really good stuff that most clients are perfectly happy with. And then when you make that jump to kind of the property like what Stephen's in right now that we saw a second ago, that's a whole other world.
Yeah.
From a Ring doorbell to use that example. How does the industry breach that divide, to cross that divide, or is it just going to continue to erode?
Oh, that might get me into more political trouble than anything.
Why do you think I
About
asked you?
the middle class eroding. remember who at least told me the first time to do it with me, and that was Mr. Klein. A number of years ago at Cedia. He explained it in on the show floor. We were doing an interview with him, I believe. I think you were doing it. And there are going to be folks who take a look at DIY products and like, I can do this. I can slap a Ring doorbell, no problem. But when I want to integrate it into something, I want to make my house a little smarter. I want to do something that when the doorbell rings, it does certain things and starts automating processes and connecting with the other parts of the Z-Wave connectivity or whatever the network is. That's when we can start looking at adding value. Some of it's going to be leveraging Amazon and Google and the big tech firms, and as they get more and more integrated into the home, as Steven said, you know what, ride the wave, educate yourself on what these things do, and then say, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, that's great, and you could buy that all day long, but this is where we add value. This is where our expertise is, right? This is where we can take one product or one suite of products and make it even better, because these are the things that we can do. And it doesn't have to be a $100,000 media room. It could be simply is something as simple as making your voice control assistant be able to control certain aspects of your house. I think that there still is a middle market, and as long as we can add value to some of these consumer-ish products that are coming in, I think that the integrators will still be able to create those custom experiences.
Yeah, very good.
I think there's no doubt that there's a wide gap between the DIY and custom. It's still out there. We see companies like Goodman Networks, 6 months or so ago, announced that they were going to come into the space because they see that gap. Somebody's going to fill that business model. It sounds like it's going to take a big company because it's a more of a volume play for sure. And if there's one thing the pandemic has done, whether it's good or bad, it's made a lot more people put more money into their homes, which has made even fewer integrators interested in doing some sort of a volume play because there's so much money out there right now for their target audience. And let's be politically incorrect, and unfortunately, as horrible as it is for all the restaurant workers, the hotel workers, the travel and tourism workers, the target market for the custom installation industry has been largely unaffected by the pandemic. And what it actually has done is left a big chunk of money available for this space. And it's in many cases helped the market.
Yeah, you've definitely seen a lot of even middle-class folks who aren't taking vacations and aren't doing all these other things and realizing that all of a sudden, hey, this isn't up to par at my house, right? I've always wanted to do this, and I'm not doing that trip to Australia. So maybe we'll throw it in the backyard this year. It's definitely changed
and maybe Best Buy is the company that's positioned best for that do-it-for-me marketplace. I don't know. They have that national presence. They're, they do have a high-end side to the business on Magnolia, but that's not really where they're focused with the tech support program and all that sort of stuff. So somebody's going to emerge in there, and people like Goodman were working with, a major company that you've already named that starts with an A, that used to sell just books, and now they sell they sell everything, and we'll see.
Hey, thanks for watching the first segment of this week's episode. To catch the entire show, please click the link below or visit avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.